So the African American Legacy Fund is an identity fund within the Chicago Community Trust. And so annually we have a volunteer board of about 25 individuals from all across the Chicagoland area. We've been making grants for a number of years now. Some of you may be familiar with the fact that our grant cycle has sometimes been a multi-year process. And last year we moved to an annual cycle. This year we will also have an annual cycle. We awarded about a dozen or so grants last year. And we look forward to doing the same or better this year. So with that, we'll just dive right into the details around the RFP. So this year, our focus areas, last year we had 3 focus areas, and this year we've added a 4th. Similar to last year, our focus areas are in social justice, education and training of youth activists, immigration, looking at both policy and systems change, and direct service, and specifically immigration that's serving those of the African diaspora, mental health in terms of its response to street, gun, and police violence, and our newest focus area this year is youth micro-entrepreneurship.
So to be a grantee, AAL is intentional about and when I say AAL, I'm sorry, African American Legacy. So we're intentional about the language that we use. And for 2019, grantees have to be Black serving, which means organizations that serve the African American community or those of the African diaspora as a part of its core constituency. You must be Black led, which means your organizational leadership has to be majority African American or of the African diaspora. And for leadership, we're talking about both board of directors and your staff. And grassroots. So a grassroots organization has a budget of at least $50,000 to $2.5 million. So grassroots organizations typically are place-based, people-focused, have an informal structure, you may be long-term or temporary, and have a clear sense of membership. And so this definition is from the Grassroots Grantmakers definition. You do see the definition on screen. If it's place-based, you're focused on a particular geographic area. People focuses on a particular constituency directly and immediately responsive to the needs and the wishes of the people that are involved. So the work is also done by the people. It can be an informal structure, so it's informal and formal. It may or may not be a 501c3, but we're going to talk about what our requirements are in that regard. So just keeping in mind who this definition is from that we have adopted. For as long as the organization can have a long history or may be temporary in nature to respond into a particular issue. And then membership generally for grassroots organization is that the groups have a clear sense of who belongs, that the group is actually a vehicle for the collective action. Next. Grants are for organizations that are, again, grassroots, Black-led, and Black-serving. Our grant term is for 1 year. It's not a renewable grant. And grantees may only have 1 AAL grant at a time. So if you currently have a grant, that period has to be up for the time for when you would qualify for this grant. A grant from AAL is separate from a grant that you may have from the Chicago Community Trust. So you can be an AAL grantee and a Chicago Community Trust grantee at the same time. Our grants are in project support or general operating support. And while grantees do not have to have a formal 501c structure, you must have a fiscal agent. that could receive the funds for you. So we will provide support for 1 year. The successful request for this grant will demonstrate how the organization's mission, strategies, and activities contribute to and advance the 3 areas as defined. And the grant size for this year will be from $5,000, up from $5,000 to up to $10,000. And your grant amount cannot exceed more than 30% of your organization's operating budget. So the application requirements, I'm going to ask Cassie at this point to talk about what the application requirements are.
For to go online to Grant Central, you have to make sure that your organizational profile. Oh, there you go. You're gonna, if you hadn't been to Grant Central before, you're gonna register and you're gonna set up an organizational profile. It'll be background on your budget, the history of your organization, and of course the application for African American legacy. A very important part about Grant Central is at the end of the application, you want to make sure you save and certify, because once you do that, you're able to submit it. But if you do have any questions on the process, we do have a Grant Central tutorial that we're going to add to the AAL website and the CCT subpage for AAL. And it'll be connected to this once this recording is complete. And it's up to date. It was just recorded, so it's really a step-by-step guideline, a video of how to set up a project and application in Grant Central.
So in addition to supporting the work of AAL, supporting the work rather, we're also interested in building the capacity of our grantees. And one way that we do this is to better understand how you think about your work. And so a component of the application is for you to submit a logic model, which describes in as much detail as possible who the organization serves through what activities and what the expected outcomes are. So this next slide is just a sample of a logic model. And our goal is not to eliminate organizations who are not able to fully complete a logic model, but it's better, our goal is to help identify areas where we may be able to help your organization. So if you have questions around the logic model, once you get into your application process, there will be an email that you can check in with. So our grant cycle timeline, as you're aware, the applications are due week after next on April 30th. Today is our info session. This session is being recorded, and so you can play it back at your convenience. Our site visits will be conducted May through July, and that's when you will hear from our consultants who were, well, prior to that, who were introduced earlier, Consuela Brown and Tamika Christian. But you can also expect that there will be AAL board members that will participate in those site visits. And then we will notify you by September 30th of the awards. And so those letters of notification will be sent from the Chicago Community Trust. And I'm going to turn it back, but before I turn it back over to Suzanne, let me clarify, just in case you may have heard something different, is if you're currently an AAL grantee, yes, you can apply if the grant has expired, so you can apply again this year. Just know that we only make 1 year grants, so they're not renewable. So it doesn't automatically guarantee that if you apply again, that you would be funded again. You still have to go through the process. Suzanne?
Yeah, and to add to what Claudette is saying about the grants, from last year for any previous grantees, it does give you an opportunity to consider a project or program in a different focus area than you may have applied for last year. So with that went much faster than I thought it would. We can actually go right into Q&A.
Hi, I have a question. So we currently have a grant from you, but the grant year ends under this initiative, actually from last year. But the grant year does not end until I think October or maybe even December of this year. So does that mean we can't apply under this round until after that year is completed and only will be able to apply next year?
Fine. I mean, because our final decision isn't made until September at that particular board meeting, all of the grants are effectively on that cycle. So if you go back to the timeline, you'll see that the application that's due this month, site visiting is happening during the summer months, and a final decision isn't available until that September 3rd board meeting. In your particular case, you may want to preface out providing a program report, an updated report, either at the time of proposal or during site visiting.
But we're not barred from submitting by April 30th. That's the takeaway? Okay, that was what I wanted. Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions?
Yes, if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Yes, I'm interested to know if you're a SMART grant recipient, that is okay to also apply for this grant?
Yes, you're eligible to apply for this grant.
Great. And I came in about 10 minutes late for the conference. I wonder if I could see the preceding slides to these slides.
Yeah, this recording, including the slides, will be made available tomorrow, posted to the website. So if you don't mind, if you can check back there, and then we can take other questions today.
Cool. Our last question is there a typical range of funding being allocated per application that's awarded, or is this an open-ended thing, or is there a limit, or is there, what are you looking for?
Grant awards are generally 5,000 to 10,000.
I have a question. What does the racial makeup of the board have to be?
Majority.
Okay, thank you.
Or of the African diaspora.
Okay, thank you.
Board of directors and the leadership staff of the organization.
Okay.
So you're saying specifically African American and not Alana?
We're saying specifically African American or of the African diaspora.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yep.
About how many grants do you all typically award in each cycle?
That has varied because our cycles have varied quite a bit. Last year we awarded about a dozen or so.
Okay, thank you.
There a specific age range that you all are looking at for youth? Are you looking more for teens, ages in high school, or would we be allowed to work with younger kids like middle school to high school?
Yeah, we're looking at all of that, younger people, teens, up to the age of 24. Any other questions? Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, great. Well, thanks everyone for joining. The contact information that's currently on the screen will be available also on the website along with this recording and the slides for anybody who joins late or you want to share it with other people who couldn't make this call today. And applications are due April 30th by midnight. So good luck and thanks so much.